best approach to going into the opposing team. Like I say, they've got pretty similar kind of tools at their disposal. Sergio obviously has that tailwind, which can put into immediate effect. But if you go for that, then you see Hippolye go for the trick room, it puts you at a massive disadvantage. You've also got to worry about the sleep powder there. But you do have Incineroar with those safety goggles. It's going to come in a big player in this game.
Really big. These safety goggles making it immune to powder moves. And here we have our leads. It's Garchomp alongside Vivian. Can't think of two more contrasting Pokemon in terms of their ferocious versus cute look. And then Golden Go and Incineroar on the other side for Hippolyte.
Yeah, it does. The Garchomp is subjected to that Intimidate, so it will be hitting a little less than usual because of that -1 attack, but it does have the Life Orb to bolster that and does threaten both the Goldinger and the Incineroar here with an Earthquake. It is a suitable target for the Fake Out in this situation to avoid any of that damage. And the Vivian can't go for the Sleep Powder here because there is the Good as Gold ability on the Goldinger, preventing that from taking effect, and the safety goggles on the Incineroar. So a nice lead from Hippolye here, although both Pokemon are threatened from this Earthquake, which we are seeing, Charlie.
Let's get into our top 32 trainers. It's going to be super effective damage onto both Golden Go and Incineroar, mitigated slightly by that Intimidate, but still huge damage. Hurricane connecting outside the range thanks to the Compound Eyes into the Incineroar, and it's down already. So top 32 off to a flying start.
That is a huge knockout turn one here. No Fake Out coming out from the Incineroar, and just to make it rain to get damage.
Goodness.
Both players coming out swinging here.
Yeah. I've never, well, this is probably the lowest we've seen any given health bar so far in Dortmund, just at the end of turn one. With the Incineroar down and out already, they might have some stalling options on their team with the Porygon 2, but that doesn't mean these trainers know when to step on the gas. Speaking of stepping on the gas, here is the Ursaluna joining the field. It's certainly a slow Pokemon, but it's one that can turn up the volume very, very quickly.
Yeah, definitely, and I think in this situation it needs to protect to activate the orb that it's got holding it, get that status condition to prevent the Sleep Powder from taking effect, of course. So double protect here makes a lot of sense just to get that into play so the Ursaluna can function going forward. The other thing to note as well, why we might not have seen a Fake Out into that Vivian was because it does have that Ghost Tyra type, so you do want to take a risk of going for the Fake Out into it and then not doing anything at all.
Absolutely, it's going to be time for this Ursaluna to get its Flame Orb nice and activated, so it's dealing as much damage as it possibly can. You can see how huge the Focus Sash can be on the Vivian, just so it's around for another turn of Disruption. Golden Go able to get a little bit of leftover as a recovery too at the end of this turn, and the Ursaluna is now ready to go. It doesn't like the look of that burn. It's nice and angry. It's nice and ready to dish out huge damage.
Yeah, it is ready, and both targets on Sergio's side are going to be susceptible to going down, whether it is a Facade or if it is one of those ground type attacks into the Garchomp. Of course, you're going to have to lock into the Headlong Rush because you can't go for the Earthquake here. You will damage your old Goldinger, and the Goldinger on Hippolye's side of the field does have the option to go for that Terrestrialization, hovering over it now, maybe to take less damage from an Earthquake coming out from the Garchomp while you try and get one last Make It Rain off to remove the two targets on Sergio's side.
Covering for a switch as well, perhaps with the Facade targeted down into Sergio's side. But trainers, time for our first Terrestrialization here in top 32. It's going to be the Golden Go. It's putting in all its cash to turn into the Dragon type. It's changed up its type matchup significantly, and it's no longer going to be fearing the big ground shifts coming out from this seismic Garchomp. Is it going to be enough? Yes, it certainly is. The Golden Go able to hang on thanks to that Dragon Terrestrialization. It is going to be a dodge from the Hurricane onto the Golden Go. Can't be too surprised, even though Compound Eyes does boost the accuracy. There is a completely unnecessary critical hit onto the Vivian there. Both of the Pokemon on Sergio's side of the field are going to be knocked out. Hurricane could have been huge into the Golden Go because, of course, now it's no longer resisting those flying type moves.
Yeah, we talked about those Compound Eyes and how it does boost the accuracy of those moves on the Vivian, but not quite 100% and really costing Sergio there. You would have avoided the Make It Rain. You would have still had at least one of the Pokemon on your side of the field active because the Ursaluna, as we saw, went for that Facade, not into anything. But Hippolye taking advantage of the tools, the offensive tools that they have available to them to make the most out of them. The Terrestrialization, they're very smart to reduce the damage, take that super effective damage away from the Earthquake, allow you to take it, and then get that pivotal Make It Rain off. Now we're seeing Sergio bring in their Goldinger and the Incineroar.
Speaking of pivotal, here is the Pokemon that loves to pivot in, out, and all about. It is that Incineroar. So Ursaluna does not appreciate that attack drop at all, even though it is such a threatening Pokemon, even still with its Facade. Boosted by the burn that it now has. That's a move that is boosted by any status conditions. And of course, Facade Ursaluna being a normal-type Pokemon, Facade being a normal-type move, that's going to pay dividends to its damage output too. And at the end of the day, it's just a Pokemon with a really high attack stat.
It is, yes, but it's on a timer because of that burn. Even though you get the boost of the attack stat, you are on a timer where after a certain amount of time, with damage coming onto the field, it will slowly whittle you away and put you into a position where it's not as useful as before. Right now, it is threatened by a fake out from that Incineroar, so has to reposition around that, and why we're seeing maybe the Goldingo come out and take its place for the Porygon 2.
Porygon 2 gets that really nice special attack boost, though, which could be huge heading into the late stages of the game. That is the side that Porygon 2 likes to hit on. That is Ursaluna going for a Shadow Ball. Really nice call by Hippolye. Of course, the Porygon 2, a normal type, isn't going to take any damage. It's immune to Ghost-type moves. But that's the Eevee-like gone for Porygon 2. Now, if you're wondering why is that not a Porygon Z, Porygon 2 can evolve, the Eevee-like boosts up the defenses of a Pokemon that can still evolve. So it makes that Pokemon really, really bulky. But without it, Porygon 2 is much more vulnerable.
Yeah, it is. Now the Make It Rain, which is going to be boosted by the Metal Coat item that Sergio's got in his Goldingo, can maybe pick up a knockout or put it in a position where the Incineroar has enough to be able to kind of close that out, take away the option for the Trick Room that the Porygon 2 is trying to set up here for that Ursaluna endgame.
Really huge knockout onto the Goldingo here for Hippolye. That is the Terrestrialization option down and out. Still in the back pocket for Sergio. We'll have to see when that comes out. What is this Porygon 2 going to be able to achieve before it potentially goes down on this turn? Its Fear is facing down a nasty, nasty growling cat here, going for another knockoff. His item is already gone, so Porygon 2 is going to stick around and is able to set up the Trick Room here. And now you've reset your Ursaluna. It's going to come back in, all orbs blazing, ready to deal massive damage with its ground-type moves into the Goldingo and the Incineroar. And oh yes, it does have Earthquake.
That is such a huge survive there for the Porygon 2, and to detriment of Sergio only having the knockoff as an offensive option on that Incineroar. No Flare Blitz there would have been enough to take it down, but the knockoff, lower power because the item had already been removed. Key turn for Hippolye, getting that Trick Room up. Now the Ursaluna back on the field, ready to go. An Earthquake, flame boosted as well. It is going to be hitting very hard. Can it take down both these Pokemon? No Intimidate after the switch out and back onto the field. Hippolye ready to go.
Certainly ready to go. You would definitely take some damage on your Porygon 2 if you do go for the Earthquake, but Porygon 2 also has access to Recover, so it'll be able to heal up at least some of the damage that it would take. Ursaluna loves these twisted dimensions. Trick Room, of course, means the slower Pokemon act fast. We are, of course, going to see a Terrestrialization come out from Sergio, so that one of these Pokemon is not going to be taking super effective damage. It's going to be Ghost onto the Incineroar. That was already a scary cat. It just got spookier. Going for its Ghost Terror type, now taking neutral damage from ground-type moves. Goldingo, not liking the look of this one bit, going for the Protect.
Yeah, going for that Protect here, maybe scouting out the Protect there. It is a headlong rush into that Pokemon, though. Maybe the Facade was thought into the Incineroar, expecting a Protect on the Goldingo, so not wanting to damage your Porygon 2, go for that move, allow it to get the Recover off, so you've still got two Pokemon active. The knockoff, the only option, though, from that Incineroar, not going to be enough to take it down, but that damage is pivotal. Has Sergio got enough in the tank to get through this Trick Room and chip away at both of these threats? You would think not with the recovery on the Porygon 2, but that Goldingo can't be written off yet. It hasn't decided to Terrestrialize into that Fairy type, which would have removed the ground weakness that it had, but also you're going to be susceptible to that Facade. I think the Ursaluna is just in that position where it is putting so much pressure on in the environment that it loves.
You said it earlier, Lee, the Ursaluna's on a timer. The Goldingo fails the double Protect, which is huge. Not really enough stalling potential left now, unfortunately. Headlong rush going headlong into the Goldingo for that big one-hit knockout. Down and out it goes. It is just this Ghost Incineroar facing down the Porygon 2 and the Ursaluna over for Hippolye. And Ice Beam now neutral damage into this Ghost-type Incineroar. No freeze to speak of. Knockoff still enough, even though Ursaluna's item is already down and out to secure the knockout here. So perhaps a slightly tighter endgame than we might have been expecting, Lee.
Yeah, a little bit tighter, of course, but I think what really comes into play here is the fact that Incineroar makes it more comfortable for Hippolye to go the direction that he did, was the Terrestrialization on the Incineroar. Yeah. Doesn't have that fire typing anymore, can be hit for neutral damage with that Ice Beam, and now you've got the Porygon 2. It's not really threatened by the knockoff because it's kind of limited what damage it can do. do, you've got the recover as well, so you just heal that off anytime and just chip away at this Incineroar until it is removed from the field. Of course, you can put a little bit of an extra timer on that Porygon too with the Will-O-Wisp, but, you know, you can easily recover off any residual damage.
Yeah, this Incineroar does not have access to a Fire-type move. It is just Knockoff. Knockoff does less damage if the Pokemon that you're targeting into is not holding an item, and the Porygon 2 has already had its Eviolite removed by Knockoff earlier in the game. So Hippolye can just sort of play this very safe, heal up. He might even get a cheeky freeze with Ice Beam at some point, but we'll have to see if Sergio is going to do all they possibly can to try and knock out this Porygon 2.
You have got the option to slow this Porygon down, though. With that parting shot, you can reduce, like we're seeing now, coming out, reducing that special attack stat down. But the thing is, with the Incineroar, unfortunately, you don't have a way to recover it, and it will just prolong the battle. Maybe that's enough for Sergio to have the time to think about how I can adjust maybe going into game 2, because it was so tight, such fine margins coming into this one. Maybe just a slight adjustment going into that next game is the time that he needs now to make those decisions.
Yeah, of course, the more HP you have in your Porygon 2 and the longer you stall it out trying to reduce the stats of it with parting shot, more likely it is that you'll have a freeze coming out, and that could just spell the end of the game then and there. You have no idea when your Pokemon's going to thaw. So really, really difficult gameplay right now for Sergio. As Porygon 2, pretty safe. Its burn is harming it, but you can see how much recover is just healing it right back.
Yeah, it just shows how valuable recovery, if you've got access to it on your Pokemon, is, especially in these endgame situations, because even though you're not doing a massive amount of damage, you can always out-damage your opponent and heal off any damage they do to you.
Yeah, exactly. And so that is going to be the Hippolye claiming game 1 here in this Masters top 32, but really well played to both trainers. Of course, in that game, we saw Sergio missing the Hurricane with Vivillon, missing a crucial knockout onto the Terra Dragon Golden Go on Hippolye's side, as well as the damage being double targeted into the Porygon 2, not being enough to secure the knockout before the Trick Room went up. So Sergio was really sticking to a good game plan. It just really didn't really pan out for him in that game.
Yeah, it was very unlucky with the Hurricane miss. Unfortunately, when you are using those lower accuracy moves, that can happen, and that's unfortunately in that situation where you needed it to hit, it did miss. It did give Hippolye the opening after that point, though, to kind of get that Porygon 2 in, get the Ursaluna in, get that Flame Orb activated, and then take the game forward from there, utilizing the Goldingo as well. It had done the work, fired off 2 Make It Rains, removed the Garchomp, removed the Vivillon from the field on Sergio's side, and at that point you're thinking, okay, well, is it going to do much more work? You've had that -2 special attack. Well, yeah, it did a lot of work, even though it only went out to come back in to take a knockout. It helped reset the Intimidate, and it gave the room for the Ursaluna while that Trick Room was being set up.
It certainly did, and now it's going to be the same, where it's going to be the Vivillon and the Garchomp coming out. Same lead for Sergio, Flamigo and Incineroar for Hippolye. So the Flamigo, a little bit of a switch up here.
Yeah, and it's a really nice switch up, because now it pressures that Vivillon with the dual wing beats. The Sash is on there, but you can break it because that is a 2 attacking move. So it will hit once, break the Sash, and then the next one will be hitting for super effective damage. If no terrestrialization from that slot, pick up a knockout. So a really good switch here. You've got the Fake Out as well, which you can go to into the Garchomp, prevent that from causing any damage this turn as well. And already the Intimidate as well is kind of mitigating the attack power from that Garchomp already.
It certainly is, and the Vivillon does have the Terra Ghost up its sleeve, so that would make it immune to a Fake Out. But what's going to be the Terra choice coming out here for Hippolye? It will be onto the Incineroar. That Incineroar, his own, as opposed to the previous game where Sergio terrestrialized his Incineroar, is becoming a Ghost-type Pokemon now. And that's Protect coming out from Garchomp. So all eyes now on this Vivillon. Is he going to be able to achieve much on this turn? Protect coming out from the Vivillon too. So just stalling out for Hippolye. This is nice for Sergio, because now you have that Terra option spent on Hippolye's side.
Yeah, and you can start planning on ways to get around that terrestrialization. Like if you've got the Goldingo on the back, you can bring that in and pressure the Incineroar with a Shadow Ball now, which is really nice. But the immediate threat is going to be that Vivillon. Have you got anything in the back that you can switch to maybe preserve that? that? Or is it going to be too detrimental to you? If you switch something in, is it going to take a dual wing beat and take too much damage? And is it worth keeping the Vivian at this stage? I think you might have to just kind of swallow it at this point, take the loss because you're kind of pinned at this position, and then readjust with some Pokemon. You never like to lose a Pokemon, but in this situation against the Flamigo, it is pressuring a knockout.
Yeah, knowing when to make those trades, absolutely crucial. And Hippolye, therefore, thinking very carefully about where to target here. Sergio still taking the time, of course. There's everything on the line for Sergio right now, trainers. If he loses here, that is it. He is out of the competition here in Dortmund. Dragon Claw coming out into Flamigo, dealing about 50% of its health. There is that dual wing beat into the Vivian. It's going to be more than enough to secure the knockout there. So that's Vivian down and out before it can achieve anything, and that's really unfortunate there for Sergio and his Vivian. The butterfly back inside the cocoon, and that's going to be, well, the Incineroar coming out with a parting shot now, reducing the offensive pressure from this Garchomp, able to pivot around for something in the back.
Yeah, it's a great start to the battle from Hippolye. He's really doing everything right, pressuring the Vivian, making sure that there is no issue from that sleep powder, no tailwind setting up, just pinning it with that dual wing beat. And like I said, you either switch it out and take some damage on something else you may not want to, and then the Terastallization on that Incineroar, getting that Garchomp down to -2 attack now, really reducing its effectiveness and almost forcing Sergio at this point. You're going to bring a fresh Pokemon in, but you have to remove that Garchomp from the field to reset those drops to get it back in later. Perfect Pokemon to help do that, of course, is going to be that Incineroar. Now, both Pokemon on Hippolye's side of the field can't Terastallize. There is the Ghost Terastallization on the Ursaluna that you may have worried about before, but that is a nice, easy target to go into with the Fake Out. But you can't forget about that Flamigo, though, because now it has access to that close combat that is also threatening the Incineroar. So maybe that's the target that you go for, but if you do that, maybe take some damage you don't really want to from the Ursaluna, or do you go for the Terastallization and follow suit of Hippolye? If you're Sergio, go for it onto your Incineroar, take away that ground weakness.
Yeah, going into the Ursaluna here is so nice to get that Flame Orb activated so it doesn't have to spend a turn protecting. It's not under the conditions it likes to be under. Hippolye could have set up Trick Room perhaps with Porygon 2, but the Ursaluna is still threatening big damage. It has taken an Intimidate drop to its attack here, so not quite as much damage as it would have done otherwise. Sergio deciding that it's time for Garchomp to race back to its Pokeball. Gholdengo coming out instead, bringing the money and bringing big damage with his Make It Rain. Close combat, nearly enough just to one-shot the Incineroar there. The Intimidate, well, no, it's immune to Intimidate thanks to its scrappy ability, so really well-trained Incineroar. The Flamigo doesn't go down either to the knockoff. Not very effective damage thanks to its fighting type. Earthquake big into this Gholdengo, and the Incineroar super effective damage. Not enough to one-shot the Gholdengo.
Yeah, that's a big play there, and taking advantage of the flying type on the Flamigo, not having to worry about the residual damage from the Earthquake, and the close combat doing such big damage that Incineroar, putting it in range. Obviously the Gholdengo now coming in. You had to take the Garchomp out, but at the cost of doing that, your Gholdengo is not in a position where it's really going to be able to pressure. The scrappy ability on the Flamigo as well is going to be able to potentially knock that Gholdengo out. If it does Terastallize, even if it does, it's still going to take probably, with the health that it's got remaining, a knockout there, leaving everything really down to Garchomp on Sergio's side.
Yeah, this Garchomp is having a lot asked of it. Wide Guard really nice to mitigate the damage from Make It Rain, from Earthquake from the Garchomp, for example, and 1 HP certainly more than 0, or indeed 5. Critical hit for style points, that Dragon Claw more than enough to take care of this Flamigo here. And Ursaluna, even though it's not in the Trick Room, really left free reign. And speaking of rain, there is the Make It Rain. Ursaluna, of course, keeping itself nice and safe, and Hippolye has his choice of things in the back, and there's the Earthquake coming out. Of course, it was the Wide Guard coming out before protecting the Ursaluna from that Make It Rain. That's Gholdengo down, and now it's all eyes on this Garchomp.
Yeah, and now in an awful position where the Incineroar can just come in. It can pressure with the Fake Out, maybe force a Protect here. Then you can just switch it out. You've got the Porygon 2 in the back. It's very, very difficult for the Garchomp to make any sort of comeback here. And just, you got to say how well played Hippolye has done this game too in particular.
Yeah, congratulations to someone advancing now through to our top card. It's Hippolye Bernard.
Absolutely incredible game for us to kick off our top cut here at the Dortmund Regional Championships, and a massive congratulations to both players, but to Hippolye, who will be moving on in this tournament, and what fashion to do it in as well. Yeah, the game one was very close margins, came right down to the last kind of 2 Pokemon on both sides of the field. But